So I'm going to talk slow this morning because I want to make sure Kip can follow along. He'll beat me up later for that, I'm sure. The very first thing I'm going to ask you all to do is stand up. Jay, don't give anybody clues on this. I want you all, put your hands above your head, stretch to your left. Some of you need to learn left from right. Stretch to your right. It's hard to do this in reverse. Okay, shake it out. Before you sit down, if you have a phone, if you have a tablet, if you have anything that is going to distract you, shut it off and put it away. Shut off your notifications. If you've got notes that you need to get ready, get ready. Go ahead and sit down. Now, we're going to do one more exercise before I get started.
Simon didn't say sit down, you're all out.
Today, Lex will be playing the part of Simon. That's good, Clint. I like it. Who in here is familiar with box breathing? Good. We're going to do 3 rounds. Count of 4. Everybody relax. If you want to close your eyes, that's fine too. We ready? In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Relax. Anybody have any idea why I did that? Focus. Dang, they get a bonus card. Exactly right. One of my goals, my only goal, is to make sure everybody walks away from this talk with something. An aha moment, something you've learned, something that makes you think deeper, something that changes you into a better man. Not by my definition, but by yours. So now that I've already succeeded in teaching you all how to start focus, we can relax and we can have a conversation. Because that's what I want all this to be. I love to lecture and I love to ramble, and the men that have known me a long time know that sometimes you got to say,
shut the fuck up, Lex.
Right on. Right on. Right on cue. Now, he still needs to carry a bigger purse when he says that. Get the voice out. There you go. All right. All right. Perfect. So some of you guys can see this, some of you can't. It's not that important. There's a copy of it on every table. If you want to peek at it, you can take notes. You can do whatever you want. What I'm talking about this morning is purposeful transformation. I couldn't have been set up better by conversations that happened yesterday, by what Ryan just said, what Clint talked about last night. Everybody points to doing things on purpose. How many of us know how to do things on purpose? Nobody stuck their hand up, so there's one. He knows how to do things on purpose. Maybe we'll get to ask him some questions later. I don't know. Where do we start? What you're going to see and what you're going to hear me talk about are 3 levels of transformation. I don't want you to take that as it's an elevated thing. What I want you to take that as is this is my definition of integrity. If all these things aren't lined up, you will never dial in your tactics and habits to the point where you're going to succeed to the level that you can. There was a little bit of a conversation yesterday about power, fear of power. I would suggest I don't like that term either. I would suggest most of the men in this room have no idea how much power they actually have. and it gets to start right now with all of you. Before you leave this weekend, you will be more powerful. Body, because this son of a, I got to clean up my language, right? Will work you out. Apparently, that guy will too. Body, mind, and spirit. You got your bodies worked out this morning. I'm going to work out your mind. I know Father Michael's going to work out some of that spirit later on. But that's what we're going to talk through. That's the point. Power. Never be afraid of power. You have way more than you think you do. The very bottom, I have tactics and habits. I've done that a little on purpose. For the men that are in the IC, I'm picking on you right there with that. For the men that aren't, that are in order of man, you still may have heard about how we do battle plans. Awesome tool. Great tool set. It's the foundation and the core of how you get men to start to move forward. However, most of us screw this up. I screw it up. Because your tactics and habits may have absolutely nothing to do with who you are at all. And the way you connect who you are to this is through mindset and strategy. Now, I do have a question, and I'll take a volunteer if anybody wants to volunteer. Who's comfortable answering the question, who am I? By that, I don't mean me. You ask yourself that question. Who's comfortable answering that question? Who am I? I saw a half a hand. There's a full hand. There's another. All right, good. Some of you. What's your answer? Who am I?
You want me to answer?
I want you to answer as loud as you can. Don't do it like Mitch. Pick up the big bag, not the purse.
Yes, sir. That's why I didn't raise my hand.
So to date, I'm a man that's a series of reactions to things. And what I want to be is someone that's proactive, someone that stands on his own 2 feet and does things on his terms for the betterment of myself and for my community. So I'm working on it.
That was a very politically correct answer, and I like it. Somebody back here, right there in the green. Who are you?
Hi, my name is Bob Gilpatrick, and I am immortal consciousness, a king of the earth and skies.
Rock on. I like that one even better. That's exciting stuff. I got to keep editing myself. I think I'm who they said that for. If you've ever been on a Friday call, you'll know why. Okay, that's a hard question to answer, isn't it? This is one of the things that when a guy joins the IC, when he starts this kind of work, he says, oh, you got to know yourself. You must know yourself. I'm 54. I'm still figuring it out. But there are better questions to ask than who am I? And I'll talk you through what I do with it, right? Because where I want to focus your attention first is identity and environment. So I don't ask, in this I learned this actually driving on my way to the Kansas City event, which was 4 or 5, I'm too old to remember how long ago that was. And I'm listening to another mentor of mine, and he says, don't ask, who am I? Ask, what am I? What am I? Is that an easier question to answer? What are you? Anybody? You're a man, work in progress. Smart guy in the room. You're a man. What am I? I'm a man. My answer to this, I went through the same process. What am I? I'm a man. Based on my faith, this is not to sell this to anybody, but based on my faith, I am a son of God. I am a man of God. That's what I am. So what? Who cares? Well, for me, that's everything. Because then I was able to ask myself this question. What does a man of God do? By my definition, the way that I was raised, by a bunch of psychotic, overly conservative farmers in Nowhere, Ohio. I'm sorry, my trauma's coming out. You emulate your father, is the point of that joke. If my Father is God, if that's who I'm tied to, what does my Father do? For me, He creates. He created order out of chaos. So what should I do if I'm going to be in integrity with what I said I am? And I said this before Jordan Peterson, and I have proof. Create and cultivate order from chaos. That's my purpose. You guys can borrow that if you want, because I know it's hard to answer some of this. Borrow it, but it's not yours. I copyrighted it. Just kidding. Let me tell you why that's important, because too often we get into this idea that purpose is some grand thing. Well, there is nothing grander than that. And you can apply that purpose to yourself. You can apply it like my buddy Dave does back there as an artist. You can apply it as a farmer. You can apply it like my other buddy, Iron John, in construction. You can apply it in anything you do as a policeman, as a fireman, as a husband, as a father, as a co-worker. You can bring order to chaos, no matter what you're doing. And I would suggest that for me, when I don't do that, I'm failing. It's that simple. The world is chaos. Life is chaos. Get used to it. So what? That's why you're here. Enjoy it. Work with it. Love it. All of it. The nightmare is the fun. The trials are the fun. Just take that in for a second. You guys are so quiet and so attentive. Even Jay. I'm not used to that. So that's one way to answer this question of identity. Now I'm going to ask you all a question, and you're going to need to at least write down one answer. You ready? This is the next question about identity. What are the 5 activities that you value the most? What are the 5 activities you value the most? Could be your work and production. Could be your family. It could be experiences. It could be lots of things. But just 5, no more than 5, but at least one.
Hey, Lex.
Yeah.
Is it value currently or what you'd like to value kind of?
What do you enjoy doing the most?
Okay.
What brings you the most value? What feels good to you? Anybody got 5 already? Of course Reese does. He's probably got it on a spreadsheet somewhere. If I know Reese, he's probably scored them all already too. Yeah, you're already doing that, right? That's good. That's why he's good. That's why he's good at what he does. All right. Anybody want to volunteer? One. What's your top one? Reese, you're up. Huh? Architect? Like architecture or being an architect?
It's a bigger, I've discovered that it's actually a pretty big definition of just a definer of people's spaces and how they live.
Oh, spaces and how they live. Dude, you just set me up beautiful, because that's like the other top part, environment.
Well, you say that because I was confused, because when that's my identity, but then it comes into my habit.
So environment, and I'll touch on this because, I wasn't going to go as deep. So I believe it was Churchill that said we shape our spaces, and then our spaces shape us. So we won't go deep into that, but if you need to go make your bed, clean your house, clean your truck, wash your whatevers, do it. Makes a difference. Who else has got one?
I've got one, Lex.
What do you got?
Teaching my family about my interests.
Teaching your family about your interests. Yeah. Awesome. James? Cooking. Right on. What you got?
Being a father.
Being a father.
Helping others.
Right on. What you got, Alan?
Helping others.
Of course. Rock on. What you got?
Playing music, specifically bass guitar.
Music. I love it. What you got?
Building things.
Building shit. Right on. Oh, dang it. I slipped one out already. What you got?
Adventure.
Adventure. That's mine. That's mine, because I want my life to be an adventure. Okay. So if you got 5 things, Here's the hard part. This is the really hard part. Everything else goes. If you didn't write it down today, and you leave here and you do all that stuff that doesn't matter, you're wasting your time. Every second that you waste not doing something that matters to you leads to your lack of fulfillment. Dang, let her fly. But I'm serious. I'm serious. I see Alan shaking his head in the back. He's a good example for this, and he'll understand why. You can be successful in life. I know multi-millionaires, hundreds of millions of dollars that they're worth. And some of them feel like crap. Their life sucks. They own everything in the world and have no spirit. They have no value. They're just doing stuff because they think it's cool because somebody else told them. This is what you do. It's in here and here that you connect to that fulfillment. This is why I get on people about tactics and habits and what they do every day having nothing to do with who they are, because I know that that's the horizontal, as I call it. What you do every day, the process you run through. That's how you succeed to a base level in life. You got to throw the vertical in there. I like charts too, Reese. Horizontal, vertical gives me this line. This line is how I get fulfillment. If I don't have both, it doesn't work. I'm just doing stuff to do stuff. And I can make a crap pile of money doing it. I might make no money doing it. But if I'm doing something I value, my life has meaning. A lot of pondering going on with that one. Got pretty quiet.
Hey Lex,
Yo,
so when you said everything else goes,
I meant it.
outside of the list that you write down on the top 5 things, right?
Yep.
That you're referring to. In your experience, how easy is that to execute?
I said before I started, this is the hard part.
Yeah.
It is the hardest part. But if you want to go from just being a successful dude to being a powerful man, a man that lives a fulfilled life, a man that has no doubt when he dies what his legacy is, you'll do it. So if you're here to build legacy, if you're here to leave something behind, and you're in doubt, which I'm sure 98% of us are, including me, some days, this is how you begin to clear it up. I only know that because I have failed so many times in my life, and I felt good about it, I felt bad about it, I've succeeded beyond my wildest dreams a couple of times, and then I threw it all away. Why? Because it wasn't good enough. Let me do it again. Maybe it'll feel better the next time. It won't if you don't figure this stuff out. Yeah, that's some heavy stuff. It's hard, to your point, to cut it out. What are things, here's another challenge for you, so you go home differently than you showed up here. Write down one thing you're going to eliminate right now. What's something you're wasting your time on? Write it down, and by the end of the day, get rid of it. Because you don't have time for it.
Here's a hard question. How do you do that when it's already a habit?
How do you do what?
How do you eliminate that thing when it's already a habit?
Find something else to get rid of. Go focus your time. Why are you worried about what you're going to get rid of? You're getting rid of it. Don't overthink it. We all inherently know, right? When we're off track, when we're distracted. There's going to be another one next month.
Well, I guess that's just the distinction,
Right?
like severe bad habits
Yeah.
The porn addiction, the alcohol, those things, you can just say, I'm gonna stop doing it.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
It's already ingrained. There's some reverse engineering that has to happen.
I didn't say it was easy.
Okay.
But here's my challenge.
Putting something like, say, like replace a vice with the virtue, the nature of the
Right. And so if you don't define the things that matter, you don't know where to put your focus. That's why you define yourself first. Don't let other people define you. Don't let porn define you, drugs define you, alcohol define you, your buddies define you, social media define you. Don't let me define you. You do it. It's in your power. And if that's not really who you are, why are you doing that? I mean, I get it. I do get it. And I'm not suggesting it's easy to knock really bad, destructive habits.
Well, I think that's something you don't
Right?
know me by the vices. I've already put that facade up.
Right. You're standing behind your wall. And you're probably going to stay there. We all are. I mean, you guys know me. Kind of.
No, we don't.
You know what you tell us?
Exactly. And I tell you what I want you to hear, because that's what I'm comfortable with you knowing about me. Right? We all have who we are. We know who that is. Nobody else does, and I don't care if anybody tells you you know everything there is to know about me, they're lying to you. No, we don't, and it's okay. At the deep core of man is his shadow that's his. It's his reflection. That's the first judger. That's the very first and last judgment. That's how much power you have. You get to decide. You get to decide. Ryan pointed to it earlier. Here's first book, Sovereignty. Here's a roadmap. It's a roadmap. Here's a framework. It's a framework. You use it how you need to use it to get where you need to go. Are you doing that? Are you fulfilling yourself, your purpose, your life, your power? I'm rambling now. I had a whole speech I was going to give, and now I'm off on this thing. That's what happens to me sometimes. Is any of this hitting home? Cool. Cool. Well, I've blown off 18 minutes already, just on identity. I'm hoping you guys have all learned something about how do you dig deeper into who you are, because I hate that question. What are you? What do you do? What do you value? That's where your focus should be. All of you have something to eliminate. If you couldn't think of anything to eliminate, I'll give you one. Social media, take it off of your phone. Bye. Nobody in here is going to go to their grave wishing that they had spent more fucking time, pardon my French, on social media. Listening to a bunch of you-know-whats tell you who you are and what's wrong with you and everything else. You don't need that. So if you couldn't think of one, I gave you one.
How many of you guys found me through social media? Just curious.
Well, no. No. Here's why. Because they found you, and now it's time to let it go, and they don't need anything else. Hallelujah. No. But I'm serious, right? I'm serious about that. Get rid of stuff that you don't need. All right. Now I'm going to hit up kind of this middle section, mindset and strategy. Because this is where the rubber meets the road. How you approach life, how you think about life, the strategies that you use, the words you use matter. The words you use matter in a big, big way. Now, anybody in here that really understands mindset and strategies can look at my list and go, well, that's not exactly right. And I'm going to go, you're right. But it's going to work for our purposes today. All right, who wants to give me a shot at mindset? Who wants to give me a definition? Anybody? Look at all these freaking volunteers. Somebody's got to volunteer. What you got?
The way that you look at the world.
Awesome. Anybody else?
The way I look at myself.
The way you look at yourself.
How I choose to interpret the data I take in.
Awesome.
What you tell yourself.
What you tell yourself. Awesome. Mindset. My mindset is that of a creator. right? Because that's what I do. Every morning, I wake up and I ask myself, how am I going to create myself today? How am I going to create the people I interact with today? How am I going to create my world today? Because it all happens up here first. All of it happens here first. And if I don't do that, I get in a really bad mood. And some of you have seen that. It's not fun. If I'm like pissed off all day long, you know I didn't do that in the morning. Because I didn't set my mind right first. See, I believe it. Mindset is everything for me. How I start my day matters. That's my morning routine. Sometimes I don't have answers. Sometimes I just ask the questions and let it be. But that's creating. That's doing things on purpose. Mindsets that work versus mindsets that don't. So if you look at this sheet, and I got some more copies, and you guys won't be able to read it in great detail. I have decent performance versus peak performance. Because you can succeed not doing what I'm telling you to do, and you'll get to a certain level, and then you're going to peter out. How many men in here have lived this life of, whoop, flat, flat, flat? What do you think those plateaus are? It's mindset and strategy and understanding that there is no limit. So you'll reach this limit of success because that's as far as you ever imagined going. And then you're going to go, well, now what? Or you could destroy it like I did. You could drink it to death like I did. I woke up one morning, side story, in my bed with my keys and a note on my chest that said, "You're welcome." Yeah. I was done at that point. I destroyed it all at that point. Something to think about. Because I couldn't imagine going further. That's what triggered me to figure some of this out. You're welcome. I have no idea who that person was. Not a clue in the world. But I can tell you it's somebody that came from a bar I probably shouldn't have been spending time in because half the people were naked. Not men, women. But here's the deal. As far as I know, I was so lit. No, that's all mindset, though. Anyway, that was a nice side story. So differences between mindsets. Decent performance is a fixed mindset. So one of the things I want to caution you about as you go through those definitions I just gave you is that they're going to change. What you value is going to change as you go through these phases of your life. So a fixed mindset will get you so far. Peak performance comes from a growth mindset. Being open, being willing to change, wanting to perform at a higher level. That's the difference between a guy that does okay and a guy that lives in that $40 million house down the street that you have no idea who the hell he is or how he got there. That's the difference. Other mindsets, self-orientation versus task orientation. Everybody kind of get that one? No? Well, damn. I'm glad you're in the front row. Self-orientation means I'm worried about myself, how I appear to the world. Task orientation says, I got crap I got to get done if I'm going to get where I want to go. That's my focus, is my task, not myself. That's all. Seeks entertainment versus seeks education. I already talked about social media. That one kind of explains itself. Seeks consumption versus production. Somebody talked about that just this morning. I think it was Ryan. I got to give credit where credit's due. There it is. If you just consume, loser, make something, create, creativity, creation, create and cultivate. That's what you're here for. Create. Are you at the effect or are you at the cause? Anybody get that one? Reactive versus proactive. Are you defining and deciding who you are, what you are, how you're going to act, what your values are, what matters to you, and acting on that? Or are you just kind of, I don't know, man. Somebody handed me a drink, so I drank it. Somebody told me to go dig a hole, so I went and dug a hole. When you do that, you're giving up all that power. I don't want you guys to do that. I want you to walk out of here powerful. Take ownership. Hooked on stimulation versus embracing stillness. Who here can sit still? All right, a few guys. It's hard, especially in today's world. Sit with yourself. Go sit in the middle of the woods and just look around. And you tell me this isn't a damn miracle. I dare you. And if you tell me it's not a miracle, I'm going to throat punch you. And say, go sit down again. Keep looking. Keep looking at the miracle. You are the same miracle. Not to get all woo-woo on everybody. You're not separate from all that out there. You're responsible for all that out there because you're aware. The damn tree isn't. The grass isn't. You tend the garden. It's a part of you. And if you don't take care of it, your environment, what are you doing? You're destroying yourself. That's what you're doing. That seems like a dumb idea. I'll stop there. I don't want to ramble too far off. Are you a leaf in the wind or are you mission driven? That one kind of explains itself, right? Those are all mindsets. Other key mindsets, abundance versus, what's the word I'm looking for? Scarcity. See, I forgot scarcity so much, I just gave up on it. These are huge for men. The biggest one is growth, though. If you want to go from okay performance to peak performance, it's about growth and change. Because you can be successful, and what a lot of successful men do is they think, I'm good. I'm good. They don't even know he can teach me anything. That's why organizations like this matter. That guy can teach me how to work out, so can that guy. Father Michael in the back can teach me how to deal with myself and my emotions and my feelings, my spirit. That's why this matters. Clint talked about brotherhood last night. That's why it matters. Humble enough to learn from another man. That's why I share my stories. I know how a lot of people see me. There's Lex. He's loud. He's successful. He's good. I want to hear what that guy has to say. I've been just as much a failure as everybody in this room. The difference might be that I'm proud of it. I own it. It's made me exactly who I am. And you should own yours. Now, strategies, because I got to move a little quicker. One of my least favorite words. Again, decent performance versus peak performance. So you can do any of these things and get somewhere. The top one on my list, hustle versus accurate execution. Which one gets you more? Accurate execution. Does this mean that you shouldn't try and fail? No. But it means you should try and fail and learn and change your sights. You guys are all going to go do archery in a little bit. Fire the first one. Line up the sights. Accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. Why? Because if you miss the deer the first time, there isn't a second time, right? If you're a bow hunter. Unless you're really fast, I guess. I'm not going to run that fast, though. Accurate execution. Slow down, be still enough to figure out what you actually need to do before you just start running down the street like a moron. Right? Today's world, it's easy to do. Innovate, innovate, change, get better, get better, get better, get better. So stop. Just stop. Sit down and figure out where you're going first. I drove here from Ohio. Now, luckily, I've driven here before, so I didn't have to think about it so much, but I had to know where I was going. Here's a little trick. to this. I know exactly where I'm going. I know the general direction. And I go. And then I get into the flow. Until I start, though, my GPS doesn't tell me anything. So there's a little bit of a dichotomy there. Until I get out of my drive and start driving, I have no idea where I'm going. So I'm always open to feedback. Change direction. There's construction over here. There's this over there. But you have to be open and paying attention to what's right in front of you so you can keep going where you already know you're going to end up. Does that make sense? Yep. Awesome. You guys are so quiet. Just poof! It can't be that. It's intuitive and not. I'm hoping this helps you guys out. Reactive versus planful, we already talked about. All right, here's another one of my favorite ones. Time-focused versus output-focused. I spent all day doing that. Yeah, good. You get anything done? I worked for years on that. You get anything done? I was in Massachusetts last week, prior to getting over here, hanging out with my wife's parents. My father-in-law, Carl, is 67 years old. Carl's been working on half of his ranch house for 15 years. I don't even try with Carl anymore. It's framed in. There's a little bit of plumbing. He's like, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. And then my wife grumbles off and runs into the other room like, oh my God, dang. It was 55 degrees in the house and dark. I'm like, Carl, you need some freaking light bulbs, man. At any rate, I'm getting off on another tangent. But, Carl, that guy cracks me up. Anyway, okay, outcomes. Let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to tangent again here. How many of you in here have goals? Awesome. All you IC guys better have them. Right? There's a difference between a goal and an outcome. Does everybody get that or does nobody get that? Some of you do, right? The goal is not the point. For those of you that do battle plans, I say this all the time. Doing the battle plan isn't the point. The tactics aren't the point. The habits aren't the point. The point is, I want to live a fulfilling life based on these values. And if your habits and tactics don't serve those outcomes, change them. That's why this isn't really a hierarchy. It all goes together. That's integrity right there. That's the map. It's your integrity, not mine. You get to define every step of that. Cool? Dang it, it went off, and now I can't see my notes anymore. All right. Frantic rushing versus calm and composed. Who got up 20 minutes before this was going to start this morning? Somebody did. Right there. Oh my God, I got to go. That's not peak performance, right? It's not. We all know that. So if you put yourself in these positions where you're always rushing, where you're always just zooming around, like, holy crap, I'm late, get up earlier, plan for it, stay calm, relaxed. Because the shit starts flying around you, you'll still be calm. That's what a man does. And then he creates a solution. I like to say fight, flight, or create. You can fight, you can flee, you can freeze, but that's useless. Create a solution. See, this is easy for me because I always tie right back to the first thing I said. I create. Now, random flow versus systemic flow. Random flow, so who in here is actually familiar with flow as it's technically defined? I got any like high endurance athletes? A little bit? What's flow to you?
Flow to me is when I'm getting so engaged in an activity that I don't notice anything else that's going on.
That's as good as anything else. And how does it feel?
Incredible.
It's incredible. So focused that nothing else is going on. It's an incredible feeling. Do you know why? Because you get dopamine, Get norepinephrine in your brain. You get better drugs in your brain from being in flow than you get on the street. And guess what? There's no downside. So if you want a reason to stop doing drugs, get into flow. It's a better addiction. Adventure seekers love flow. It feels good for a reason, because you're on task, you're on target, you're focused. So some of us have had this feeling. Some people have it as spiritual experiences even. That's, get flow in a church experience. There's Father Mike putting up his hand back there. Systemic flow means you're doing it on purpose. So the reason I started you with what I started you with was what? Focus. I then gave you a really clear goal, my goal. And then you all adopted your own goals. That's how you create flow. It's actually easier in groups once you get people going on it. So do it on purpose. Create those experiences on purpose. Last one, I'll use a nice technical term so I can sound intellectual. Manage your cognitive load. Sounds like a load, doesn't it? But it's a real thing, okay? Use your brain to think, not to store information. Use your brain to think, not to store information. All these things I had you put away, you can store everything you need to store right here. That's what it's for. So you can think. Let the tool be the tool. Don't let the tool make you the tool. Right? You're the man. You're powerful. What you got?
Yeah, like I said, I think this really, we're taught in school to memorize.
Right.
For tests and everything. The reality is, most of us, and I suffer from this, I don't take notes the way I should, I don't write down OneNote, things like that, processes and things, I rely on up here. Problem is, I'm constantly loading my brain just every day because I'm a learning junkie. But the problem is, if you need to remember it, just remember where you wrote it down, less than remembering it. Some of it will become second nature in things, but procedures you may only use once or twice on a job, just write it down. That's why you have checklists, pilots, things like that. If it has to be done, quantify it in a checklist. That's exactly, because me at 45, the cognitive load, what I could load into my brain on a daily basis 10 years ago and not be tired from isn't what it is now. Like,
Absolutely.
there is a definite difference.
Absolutely.
Over time.
So use your brain to think. Here's how critical it is in the modern world. So who in here has ever heard of Tesla? By that I mean the modern car company. So Tesla, Google, both developed automated manufacturing plants to build their automated cars, meaning there were no people to help build the vehicles when they first started. How well do you think that worked? You would seem like you could design it to a point where, yeah, the machines can do what people can do. No, they can't. Your brain is way more powerful at abstract thought, at creativity. That's how you make a difference. Create.
Yeah, how do you develop that?
You practice it. Just like any practice, like a meditation practice. Dave, how do you create something new?
Yeah, so for me with painting, it's, you're drawing constantly. And, for me getting back to my painting after years away, my approach to it was draw badly every day. Like, I can't draw well every day because I'm out of practice, but I can draw poorly every day. And I said this at last year's event. G.K. Chesterton said, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. So, it's just that daily, consistent, make a bad drawing every day. Make a bad, like that I can do, and I just keep doing that. And through the practice, and the application of it, it improves, and, all of a sudden, every once in a while, I'm making a good drawing. I'm making more good drawings. I'm painting, and it just continues from there. But it just very small, and I set very strict time limits on it of draw really bad for 5 minutes. That extends, and all of a sudden you're into a flow state, painting for 4 hours, and oh shit, it's dinner.
So that's one way. I love Dave's work, by the way. If you've never seen it, it's awesome. His bad drawings, they're pretty good, right? Journaling. Waking up every morning asking that same question. How am I going to create myself? How am I going to create my world? How am I going to create my interactions with other people? Going through this exercise of creating yourself is the underlying point of this whole presentation, of doing it on purpose. We've abdicated so much of that power. I want every man in this room to walk out of here more powerful than before I spoke. And these are the tools to do it. You get to define it. That's creativity. You're creating yourself. All right. That's my presentation.
Thank you.
Hey, you know, when it's over, it's over. Ramble off. Now, thank you. I got like 3 minutes, and then I'm going to go get coached by people that I pay to coach me, because I need a lot of help. Somebody asked me this morning, boy, you're hard to deal with. I'm like, yeah, I wake up in here every day. So I get it. But before I run off, anybody got any questions at all? We'll take a couple of them. Here, let me start right here.
So when you talk about what are the 5 activities you value most and then get rid of everything else, what if some of those things that are everything else are vehicles to fuel those 5 things that matter? So for me, like, work isn't anywhere on here, but to be a good father, husbandry and fatherhood are, and work influences my ability to provide and be a good father and husband. How would you recommend going about that conflict?
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
Can I answer that way?
Go for it.
We all have to do shit that doesn't actually matter.
Wait.
It does matter.
It
but
matters. But
it's not
why
the
it
main
doesn't always
focus.
feel good is because we haven't tied it to all that stuff that matters to us. So that's the difference, again, between the goal and the outcome. So the outcome is what? You do the things that you value. You spend time with your family, with your kids. You take care of them. You need this to facilitate that. So that's just a stepping stone, but it's not the goal. So you don't need to feel good or bad about it. It's just get it done. And if it's really horrifying, so some dudes are like, I gotta love my job. No, you don't. You don't. If it's serving the purpose that you need, recognize then that it's serving that purpose or it's not. And if it's not, like if you go, like let's say you have a crappy job. Damn, this just sucks. And I go home and every day I'm abusive to my family, I'm not kind to them, I don't take care of them, I don't love them. I got to change my job. Because I'm not getting to the outcomes that I want. Right? I don't know, that's a way to think about it. It's a hard question. Wait, right here, yeah. All right, what you got?
So same activity, I wrote down the 5 activities that I value the most in my life. Number 1 is fatherhood, as it should be. But I have 3 other activities before my marriage. And I'm at odds with that. Honestly, I can't believe that I value some other things more than my wife, than my family.
So what
How
happens?
do I change that?
What? You don't have to change it. What happens if you don't do the things you value? You going to show up as a good husband?
Definitely not.
All right, so there's nothing to change.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. It's not that hard.
In some ways, you're almost like redistributing the time that
Yes.
you did, the crap, like the Netflix and all that social media and all that crap. You're redistributing that time into that list. So now those priorities become bigger priorities, those 5.
Right. Now you got more time to be less of a dick of a husband. But if you don't take care of yourself, it's not selfishness to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not taking care of anybody else. I don't care how hard you think you're working for somebody else. If you feel like crap, they know it. They take it in. Why doesn't he like me? Why doesn't he want to talk to me? Why doesn't he love me? Why doesn't he care about me? Because you're so freaking self-obsessed instead of task-oriented, outcomes-oriented. All right, I'll stop. That rambles off. Ryan, what you got?
Well, I don't know who's talking about it up there, but you know, the premise of what you've been talking about is creation. So, guys, look, if you don't like your job, create a new job.
There you go.
Like, if it doesn't work for you, you're not destined or bound to be in that occupation. You may have to be there 5 or 10 years, but you can certainly create something from your list. Right? So if you've got that list of 5, man, think about what I do for a living. This is crazy. You guys are all here.
What exactly do you do, man?
You pay me. So the point I'm making is some crazy shit we can do to make money, to make a living. Well, you know, you got 5 things right here. What can you do around those 5 things? What can you create out of chaos, nothingness? If you're talking about spirituality, bringing these elements together to create the planets and the stars and the moon and everything else, and the plants and the water and the land. That's what you do. That's what we're destined to do. So create something else. It might take a while. You know, it does. But you can create it, for sure.
But you start here.
Well, and there's something to be said about that too, because maybe you don't go out and you create your different job, but you can create your mindset around your job.
Yep.
That doesn't mean you walk in every day, piss off on this, and I'm pissed off because I gotta be. You still have to make money for your family and provide for them. So start thinking about that job that you hate differently, and start realizing why you're there instead of, I hate this place. Yeah. I've worked a lot of jobs that I did not like on the outside, but if you talk to me, I'm passionate about every single one of those jobs because they provided for me, they provided for my family, and now I don't do anything.
And I'll wrap it with this. And I want to wrap with this. I think it's very, very cool because one of our talks later this weekend is actually going to dive a lot deeper into this part of the conversation. Am I right, Manny?
Yes, sir.
Right? We're actually this part that we've kind of gotten to in the last 5 minutes. We're going to spend a good portion of one of our presentations talking about just this. So I love that we're really passionate about this. So we're going to be able to continue on with that later on today. Tomorrow actually. That part's going to be tomorrow. So we'll be able to continue with them. But for now, let's give Lex a round of applause. Thank you for that.